Okay, right. Okay, here we go. Hello, and welcome back to, another episode of An Unorthodox CEO. I am, as always, Steve Pickering, the CEO of Sussex Beds, and today we are joined by Rob Najair. Najair, is that right?
It's Najair.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, right.
You knew it.
I did.
You're one of very few people that get that first time.
I feel very proud. Yes, and we'll be talking to Rob all about how and why he has started his own body movement coaching and rehabilitation. I got the word.
You got the word.
Business. Yeah. It's easy for me to say. So we're going to be speaking all movement and rehabilitation with Rob today. And I guess really the other thing is how sport and movement and sleep are so important and come together. Absolutely. So we'll venture into the sleep world as well. I think that would be good because we are a bed retailer, and occasionally we need to talk about sleep, don't we? Anyway, don't forget before we go any further, hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss an episode, do you? No, you don't. Yep, I can hear you all agreeing. Anyway, let's crack on. Yeah. So, Rob.
Steve,
welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've come really prepared. I put on my chunky Vans. I'm a big Vans fan, and I've done my revision, as I said to you earlier.
Yes.
Listened to podcasts.
Wow.
Cooking dinner last night and driving to and from work today.
Cool. So he's done his research. He knows all about us. He knows the format. So let's start the chat. Love for fitness. Tell us, where did that all start? So, we've known each other a few years.
It's been quite a few years, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, actually. I'm going to
I know exactly which story you're going to say as well.
So, me and Paula, we wanted to start some PT, didn't we? And I think Paula found Rob online, although there is actually some connections other than that. And we wanted to start PT together. And so Paula made contact with Rob, and we ended up having our first meeting talking about PT and fitness and health. In McDonald's.
I think we wanted to meet up, and back in the day when I used to run my business and bring on new clients, it was a case of bringing people in, like getting to know you, getting to know your goals, and I always like to do it over a coffee. And I think M&S was the cafe of choice, which was closed on that particular weekend morning, and the only one that was open nearby was Mackey's. So there we all were, crammed into a Mackey's booth, having a chat about health and
fitness. It was. So tell us about love of fitness, and how is it something you've always been interested in? Or
absolutely. I mean, from as young as I can remember, I was always into sport, always into exercise of some kind. I remember from being a little kid, my mum and dad would always talk about stories of me riding trikes and bikes everywhere and having the biggest legs out of everyone in the nursery group or whatever it was. I was always into football when I was younger. I played every sport under the sun. I was really big into basketball. Basketball was probably my biggest sport that I was a fan of and took seriously when I got into my teens. But table tennis, cricket, football, the lot. So I've always been fitness and exercise mad.
And did you always want to have a job like PT? Was that always, or did that come about as you progressed it through school? And
I would say more college? So the latter. I mean, I think just being, I'm not sure if it was just being a kid and being a boy or just myself, but I never really thought about what I wanted to do when I was older. I was just always in the moment, playing sports, doing whatever it was that I did, and sport was always the thing that was. I probably just assumed actually that was the thing that I was going to do. When it got to more of a case of us choosing, me and my parents choosing what I was going to be doing at college or at school, it was always a case of I was always going to be going into sport or biology or something to do with coaching.
So did you study it at college?
Yes, at college I studied PE A-level, as well as biology, psychology, and another one which I can't remember, but they were I didn't do very well at college. We don't talk about college very well. I got 4 U's in my college A levels. But that was, again, I think it comes back. I've never been a studier, a reviser.
No.
I've never been one to sit still and to revise. I don't remember revising for anything properly in my life. Which probably led me to be doing a physical sport, a physical job within the sport.
I wouldn't knock your U's, to be fair. I haven't even got U's. So
there you go.
You've got 4 more U's than I've got. So so you should never knock that. I think academic, I was not academic at school, and it's not the be all end all. It's about drive, isn't it? And wanting to do something. So So you come out of college. Yeah. And where did you
come out of college? I wanted to go to university. That was the thing I wanted to do. I say I got 4 U's. I had to redo my first year at college. So I ended up getting some A levels. I don't know what they were because they weren't very impressive. But I managed to scrape some offers to go to university. There was at 3 local unis, and it was to study either psychology. To either study physiotherapy or sports therapy. So sports therapy was quite similar to physio. A bit more hands-on and looking at other means of treating the body. So it's quite full circle actually that I've come back to doing what I'm doing now, which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit. But they were the offers that I got into, and it was actually you wouldn't probably believe it, but my mum was actually the one that convinced me not to go to university. She made a very good point that, Rob, you're probably not going to study if you go to uni, and you actually do need to study. You just got some kind of A levels by the skin of your teeth. So going to uni, are you going to just talk to girls and drink and go to parties? Which the answer was yes. So I actually thought it was probably the better decision to not go to uni. And at the time, I met who is now my wife, Jazz. We've been together for about a year or so at that point, and we were starting our relationship, and things were exciting there. And I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do at uni, even though I'd applied for those courses. So it was. It didn't feel like the right thing to do. So from there, I went and studied to become a level 3 PT, which is a normal personal training qualification in the industry in the UK, and worked for a couple of years at bigger branch commercial chain gyms. So the Freedom Leisures, the David Lloyds, those sort of gyms. And quickly found that they also weren't my calling. That wasn't where I was meant to be staying for a very long time. And just sort of a more corporate environment wasn't where I thrived. And obviously at this point I didn't know where I would thrive, but that wasn't right.
So where do you thrive?
So where I've ended up over the course of a few years after that, so I sort of detoured actually out of fitness because I was running my own personal training business on the back end of a lot of my other work. So I worked as an estate agent at one point, which wasn't my favourite. I worked. It was only a year, and it was purely because I had my job as. What was I doing at the time? I think I was actually just at David Lloyd, I think, at the time, and I was also running my own personal training business in Hastings, where I had 2 or 3 clients. I think that was maybe when I started coaching with you guys. And then I wanted to learn or get better at sales. It was maybe a bit of a naive decision of a bit of a route of where to start working. But at the time that sort of made sense. I wanted to learn how to sell to people, how to talk to people a little bit better. And I wasn't making enough money to do personal training on its own for my own business. So I ended up as an estate agent. Was there for a year. That also wasn't my calling, funnily enough. And from there, I ended up working at a local gym, which is an independent gym in Hastings, and I was there for probably 2 years. And that's where I mainly ran my own personal training business, but I also did other things there. I coached some classes that the gym was running. I worked at the reception. I made people protein shakes and things like that, which is quite a standard entry-level job for a gym. And then I worked at the CrossFit gym, which is where I work now, Constant Pursuit. So I was one of the first members, I think, of the gym when they opened, and I started working and coaching for those guys pretty soon after. And
how did that develop into, making this leap into your own business?
Sure. So alongside being a CrossFit coach for the last 3 or 4 years now, I've been running my personal training business alongside. It's always been Rob Najair personal training. Nothing fancy, it is what it is. And I've always coached people for whatever goals as a very generic personal trainer. So that was doing, pretty much whatever the client wants. So whether that's fat loss, muscle building, helping with their nutrition, that sort of thing, or just for general wellness, for exercising.
Yeah.
And I've always had a drive in terms of personal development, wanting to progress what I'm doing, professionally. And I wanted to niche a little bit more. So I wanted to come away from being an everyday personal trainer where there's a cap on how much you can earn. There's a certain type of person that you're going to work with, which is basically like general population, people who are looking for a basic level entry personal trainer. And that's when I started to niche into movement, which has been the latest thing I've been doing. So,
so what does that involve?
Sure. So it was 18 months ago. I did a qualification. It was all about biomechanics. Yeah. So that's learning about how the body moves. It's not. The way I've taken it across is I work with injury rehabilitation and movement. So it's not a case of just personal training, which is what a lot of people use it for.
Sure.
So for myself, I've had a big history. This is a bit of a detour. A big history with injuries myself. I've always been injured in any sport that I've had. I said earlier, I played a lot of sports. All sorts of injuries and never really known why. Never really got any good answers from physiotherapists, from osteopaths, chiropractors. So I basically actually went and studied this biomechanics course, probably from a selfish perspective. Yeah. I wanted to learn more about my own injuries and how to fix them. And as a result, and in fact, actually, Steve, we missed a couple of things here along the way. So, sorry. Circle back. So one of the things that I was doing a few years, I think it was actually a year or so after being an estate agent, was I ran an online weight loss business.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you know that.
No, I didn't know.
No. So I was an online weight loss coach.
Yeah.
I worked with a business coach, Rich. Shout out Rich.
Shout out Rich.
Podcast. Big shout
Hi,
out.
Rich.
Hi, Rich. Rich was a brilliant guy that I worked with a few years back now. So it was probably maybe just before COVID.
Yeah.
And we would go up to do masterclasses up where he lived in Yorkshire. With a big group, similar to what you were saying with what was the company you were working with
Vistage.
Yeah. It's a very similar sort of business with that, but it was for fitness professionals.
Oh, okay.
So all different coaches, weight loss professionals or bodybuilding coaches that we'd go up. We have an intensive 2 or 3 days of learning. So we'd learn about sales or marketing. We learn about building successful Facebook groups, building a community, and then really like hyper niching into a specific group of people. So at the time I was vegan, I was plant-based myself, and so I worked with plant-based women, which is a really like random niche, and I think this is the process that I've taken with my business. It's gone on its roller coasters over the years, but that's where I first started, from niching down, from working with people on a sort of more general level in terms of personal training, general population clients, and then I ended up working with middle-aged women who were vegan, who were looking to lose weight. That was my niche. I actually remember I was looking back in sort of preparation for this podcast. I had an old Facebook group and it was called the Plant-Based Confidence Club. Was what it was called. So that was like, it was a real hyper niche, and that was the thing that Rich would drill in with us. We'd really get good at marketing and talking to a specific person. So there'd be lots of focus on market research, and then building products specifically based around the market research that we'd have with those people. So it was I learned so much with Rich over those few years of working with him, not just about marketing and sales and making a business, but it was all about self development as well. So I learned a hell of a lot over those few years.
I think that's fascinating. You know, and we've spoken about this before, where you're an excellent technician at your job, which is PT or fitness, but actually making that launch or step into your own business, you need to know that stuff. You need to know marketing, how you're going to drive more clients, people, how to then manage the finance and money. And that's, you know, manage your own business. You need to know so many different things. And I think that's it's something I always recommend is a coach. You know, if you're great at your trade, that's fantastic and a great place to start. But actually, if you're going to make that leap, you need to know, I don't say be an expert, but you need to have knowledge in all those other areas. So that's amazing that you've recognised that and done that before you made that leap.
Absolutely. And I was quite young at the time that I was doing it. I was maybe 21 or 22. So a lot of the guys and girls that we were working with Rich were in their late 30s, early 40s. So I was a real outlier for where that was. And I think that it sort of comes back to principles around me growing a business over my life, and working as a self-employed coach and having my own business is being a student of the game and wanting to actually learn from a very young age. I think that's probably something that a lot. I've definitely had that advantage of learning that quite young, and being able to carry that through and not thinking that I know it all, because I definitely don't. None of us do. We're all trying to learn as we go.
But isn't that funny as well that, you know, college, school, you know, didn't really have the academic interest, and yet when you go further on, suddenly it's of interest, and you're then hungry to learn. And yet at school, distraction, whatever. Why is that so often the case that, you know, schooling doesn't catch that imagination?
No, not at all. I think there's a few things. I think it's definitely like the case of age. Like, I don't think you know what you want to do by 16, 17, 18. Yeah. You don't have I mean, funnily enough, actually, like I was saying, my gut instinct of working in physiotherapy or sports therapy is actually very similar to what I now do as a business. So it's quite funny that if I'd followed that gut instinct when I was younger, maybe I'd probably be in a quite similar position, I guess, maybe. But again, I think I've learned so much from not going down that rabbit hole and actually learning things on my own back. And it's very similar to like the sort of cliche of learning to drive, right? You don't learn to drive with your lessons with your instructor. You learn to drive when you start to drive, right?
Yes, you do.
And it's exactly that. I learn every day with my business. And going back to what you were saying earlier about having the sort of understanding and not being an expert, having an understanding in all the different aspects of running a business. I would probably say I'm more of a content creator and a video editor than I am a coach, which is ridiculous because I really hate doing that. And it's definitely not where my skill set lies, but it's something that you've got to do to be able to run a business, especially in 2025. And it's difficult from myself, I guess, because I don't have a product that I'm trying to sell. It's a service. I'm the only one that can deliver my service to my clients until I can start bringing in other members of staff that do that, which is for my industry and for movement, which is quite a niche in itself. It's not anything I'm able to do anytime soon. So being able to, you know, grow a service-based business is really difficult to do. It
is, because it's reliant on you, isn't it? And I think that's probably one of the things as you're starting off, you need to start to think of is, how can I scale this? So it's not Rob, but actually, you know, what are the values, what are and start to think of it. And I think if you start early, then you can find ways of scaling it, and it's not all centered around you, so that you can bring in new team members that think and act and do everything as you would, and that, you know, and that's the big challenge, isn't it?
100%. And I also think it comes back to, like you said, you mentioned the word values. Like, having a business that is based around core values is so important. It's so overlooked. I guess I'm not sure if it's just in my industry or on the scale of where my business is at. Again, I think the process of where I've taken my business over the years of being a general population personal trainer to niching, which is something that I think is very important to do with my level of business, but niching into the wrong niche, and then learning that actually this isn't right. I think there was a point where I was working with Rich, and it was a case of I was making a little bit of money. It was okay, but something just didn't seem to click. And it's probably quite obvious chatting to you that I'm not a 40-year-old vegan woman looking to lose weight. It's not really there was again, with a value perspective. Again, I could help those ladies really well, but it just wasn't what I was made to do. It wasn't what I'm put on this earth to do. And at the time, I really had to think about it when I was up on one of the masterminds with Rich about what exactly, you know, I am here to do. And for me, it was working with athletes. It was working with people who were already in the gyms. I don't want to convince people to go into gyms. I want to, you know, take people who are already in the gyms and maybe need a little bit more guidance, or they maybe want to start strength training, or they want to train for a specific sport. They were the people I wanted to work with. So that was the sort of next niche. And then again, the business has then developed into, well, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and I've got really good at what I'm doing. However, again, we're now looking at the value perspective, and I think we're always refining that core value down. And for me now, it's working with injuries, it's working with rehabilitation, it's working with people who are in discomfort or pain a lot, you know, and they're maybe not getting the answers they want. And for me, that's a real core value that's close to my own heart, without being cliche, because that's something that I've struggled with and dealt with for a lot of my life as well. So that whole process is, again, like I said, very full circle. As I mentioned, with like the physiotherapy and the sports therapy at university.
That's really fascinating. So how do you do it? What do you do in you know, when you're talking about helping? What sort of things do you do? How do you?
Sure. So if you would, I always like to sort of compare it to something like a physiotherapist or an osteopath or a chiropractor. They're normally the clinicians that most people are most familiar with. They've got back pain or knee pain. You go to their clinic, they put you on a bed, they might put you through some assessments. And usually it's some kind of hands-on manipulation or treatment. So you see like massage is a really common one.
Yeah.
People might go to have a massage because they've got a sore neck or a sore back. Mine is far more physical based. So rather than me doing any manipulations and doing the work for you, I give you the tools to address the root cause of those injuries in the first place.
Yeah.
So lower backs don't just get tight for no reason.
No.
Ankles aren't just stiff for no reason. Your body is a system. It works together, and there's a reason why those things happen in the first place.
Yeah.
So my job is to take you through lots of different physical assessments. Normally they're assessments that I think no one that I've worked with so far has had any of those kind of assessments done before to them. And we actually see how the body works together, and then we can address it. Usually it's a case of looking at mobility or stability, sometimes motor control of how the body works as a system to get a task done.
Yeah. So what sort of injuries do you major on, or what
Sure.
would you do?
So it's sporting injuries. So I work with all athletes.
Yeah.
So with my the gym that I work at Constant Pursuit, it's a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
So we have lots of people who do weightlifting or
Yeah.
gymnastics. So they're quite similar sort of injuries. So we get a lot of like rotator cuff problems or neck pain. We get a lot of just sore lower backs. That's quite a typical one.
Yeah.
Knee pain, and that's probably about it.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been working a little bit more recently with some runners locally
Yeah.
to Hastings, and they tend to have, again, quite typical injuries for those. It's normally inside or outside of the knee.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's glute pain, so right in the bum, and then occasionally ankle or foot pain as well. So
yeah.
I'm working with a wider and wider scope of clients. So again, I'm very new to working with movement in the grand scheme of things. I've been doing it for just shy of 2 years now, so I'm still learning to get to grips with the kind of people I'm working with.
That's really cool, really cool. And I guess really we need to touch on the importance of sleep in this. Recovery and sleep. Is there a big link here, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are probably as much of an expert in this as me, because I'm definitely not an expert in sleep, but I know a lot about sleep in terms of the importance of it for all physical goals or things that you're looking to do. So weight loss, muscle building, again, recovery from injury, these are all things that are super important to get your sleep with. Yeah. So I think one of the guys that I've followed a lot in the sort of podcast world, or I've got his book but I haven't read it yet, is there's a guy called Dr. Matthew Walker who talks a lot about this stuff.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that he often says that I then quote him on is that sleep is the pillar in which nutrition and fitness is then built upon. Right. So you can eat as good as you like, you can train as hard or as well as a professional, but if ultimately you're not getting your 6 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night, you might as well not do the rest of it, because you're not going to get the results you're after.
Yeah, and I love the way you said quality sleep, because I think that's the importance. Then, and I think sometimes it can be quite easy to quote a bed's a bed, a mattress is a mattress, but actually to get quality sleep, you do need to invest in that product. And we don't actually, I think it's the first time we spoke about products in all of our podcasts. It's not something we really go down, but a quality product makes so much difference. And even though I've been in the industry a long time, far too many years, it was probably 10 or 15 years in that I really discovered the value of a quality mattress. And I think we went to visit someone, a friend, and we stayed overnight. And they kindly gave us their bed to sleep on, and they had a spare room and or a put you up, and they stayed on the put you up. And it was lovely of them. But my goodness, the mattress was a real old coil sprung. You felt every bump, every lump, every spring. And I don't think we slept at all through the night. Every time you move, you disturb yourself. And that's really where I thought, my goodness, what we sell is just so good. And that's enough of sales talk, because we don't really do that on here.
Well, I'm actually going to bulk up yourself. I actually sleep on a Sussex Beds mattress as well. Woo! I didn't know if you guys knew this, but and I completely agree with everything you said. Yeah, I mean, a quality night's sleep, again, a lot of people try and get, sort of 9 hours of sleep. If you're up every sort of few hours, or you're going to the toilet, going for a wee in the middle of the night, or you check your phone to see what the time is, these are all things that massively disturb your quality of sleep.
Absolutely.
I think, I mean, that, just from personal experience, I'm ask on, we got blackout blinds, we try and get as much darkness in the evening as possible, and as little noise as well, and those things make a massive difference.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it's like alcohol and sleep as well, isn't it? You sort of, if you have a lot of drink, or not even a lot, you'll pass out on the bed, but you don't have quality sleep. You sort of just drift in that lighter sleep all the way through.
Very similar to caffeine, actually.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, again, just from my experience in where I'm working at a gym, I might be working or training myself in the evenings. And even at 5 or 6 o'clock, you see people who have finished a day of work, they're quite tired, they turn up at the gym and they reach for a can of drink that's got 150 milligrams of caffeine in, or they've just had a coffee or a cup of tea just to sort of get themselves through the session. And I think a lot of people use the excuse of, oh, well, I sleep really well. So like, I've always been out, like my parents are exactly the same. Whenever we've gone out for dinner, they'll have like a coffee after dinner, which is a really common thing for a lot of people that I know. And they'll be like, oh, but I can go home and I can sleep fine. But again, it's not the getting to sleep. That's not the issue. It's how your body's able to access deep sleep and REM sleep. And those things are massively affected by caffeine. So myself, I try where I can to not have caffeine past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's like I think a good cut-off rule is very important. I know people that don't have caffeine past 12 o'clock. So I think, don't quote me on this one, I think it's 10 hours caffeine stays in your system. So again, if you're having a coffee after you finish work, that's still in your system when you go to sleep, unless you're going to sleep at ridiculous times. But
no, yes, absolutely spot on. We done some work with a sleep expert last year, didn't we, Giles? And he said exactly that. Actually, 3 o'clock is the cut-off. Don't have no more caffeine after 3 o'clock, and for those reasons, because the most important bit of sleep is that first hours, that's where you get the real deep sleep, and as you get to the dawn, then you don't go as deep. So they are critical, those first few hours.
Absolutely.
I think it was the first time we talked about sleep, actually.
I love this.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And you've touched on something else I thought I'd just come back to, which is weight loss. Now, with all the, I suppose, all the news of weight loss jabs and things like that, do you see that industry really in turmoil? Is it being disrupted hugely?
That's a really good question, and it's something I've not actually thought too much about. You do see some people, and I know some people that have had those kind of jabs, and I don't really feel too strongly about it regardless. I think because the important thing is habits, right, and what lifestyles are like. If people are continuing to have those kind of jabs and continuing to have a really unhealthy lifestyle, regardless of fat loss, what quality of life potentially is that, eating junk food or drinking lots of alcohol or those kind of things, they have a huge impact on your quality of life while you're here, regardless of your weight or your image or whatever it is. I think one of the things that we talk a lot about at the gym as well, and a lot with my clients, is we talk about things like weight loss almost as like a symptom or a side effect of having a good lifestyle. So I was actually talking to someone recently who's gone on a big weight loss journey, and they're sort of now looking at fueling their performance a little bit more. So they wanted to get stronger with the weights they're lifting at the gym. They want to get better times in. They've been doing things like high rocks races, and they've been doing some half marathons, and they wanted to now fuel not for an aesthetic goal. They were now looking at fueling purely for that performance. And I often say to them, and they're a little bit skeptical about then adding weight back on after having this huge sort of weight loss process. And I think that those things come as a side effect, almost like a symptom of the more important thing, right? If you were looking at getting stronger, more functional, healthier, more mobile, those things will probably end up leading to someone who's more of a healthy body and a healthy mind as well.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It tends to be the sort of thing that I tend to work with people with, because it's a contentious topic, and I think that's a much better and healthier perspective.
Yeah, cool. And actually, I've just noticed that something just reminded me. You used to do fitness for us as an office as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. But I've actually recently, maybe I can send you over a picture of the group, but everyone looks so different and so young as well.
I
was thinking about this actually last night, who I haven't worked with in your family. And I think I've coached almost every member of your family at this point.
I think you have.
There's a whole office group we used to have. Again, this is when I was working with more people as opposed to sort of niching down. And I used to do a session a week up in the office.
Yes.
Then there was a period of time where you guys came and met me down at the gym, so we had more equipment, a bit more space. And then I've had private one-to-one sessions with Paula, Grace, Sue, Julie, Sarah, Louise,
my goodness,
Josh, there's a lot of them. So Mark, shout out Mark as well.
Hello, Mark.
I still coach Mark as well now. He's away at the moment, but so he won't be getting his session in this week. But shout out Mark. Yeah, Mark's been a long-term client of mine.
Yeah, that's cool. And I there is another link. So Rob's mum,
yeah.
So Paula went to school with your mum, didn't she?
Yes. Yeah.
But actually, I met your mum for the first
this
time.
This is the link I was more aware of.
And she does shows. That's how I met Rob's mum. Doing a show, Copacabana, many years ago.
Yeah, she hasn't done many in the last couple of years, but she used to be a real thespian at all the different like amateur dramatic societies.
So have you ever ventured on stage, Rob?
Well, this is a question that I was going to ask you. If we've ever been in a show together, because when I was younger, I used to do loads of shows.
Did you?
Yeah, mostly with the Hasslians.
Okay.
I did quite a lot of shows. I was in Bugsy Malone. We did The Wizard of Oz. I was in the High School Musical.
Did you know that about Rob?
I did quite a lot of shows on local theatres and stuff like that. So.
Would you like singing, dancing, acting, or?
This is a really weird, and it's one of those things that I just completely grew out of because the thought of it makes me really uncomfortable. I did any of that. Definitely not dancing. I think I like singing and like acting. I think because my mum did it. My little brother was in the West End. He did Oliver. He did a tour, a UK tour of The Sound of Music. I'm not sure if you knew that.
No,
he was one of the Von Trapp children. He did it with Jason Donovan. So he did that, and Mum did it obviously all the time. My dad's never been into it, and so I did loads of different shows and got caught up in that for a few years. But that's not my proudest moment personally. No. It makes me still squirm a little bit now.
So what is your escape from business and work? And
that's a great question. So. And this is something that I've been working on a lot, and I think it's probably something that you want to chat about is the sort of identity aspect of being a self-employed business owner, right? So I think especially this year has been a real focus on having life outside of work. When you are running the show with everything, you're answering messages while you're in bed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm sure you've been there with that. You're doing things at the weekends. So this year I put real boundaries in place to make sure I've got time away from work. So I no longer work weekends. I'm done in the evening when I finish at 5:30 or 6:30, whenever my last client is. I'm done. I won't go and check my phone later on at night. I've got myself a work phone, which is a really cool thing. You've got my second phone over there. So I mean, it's sort of not worked in a way because I wanted it to have it so I didn't go on Instagram all the time. So my business Instagram is now on my work phone, but I carry both my phones with me everywhere, so I still have that there. So, I'm getting there. It's a lot better than what it was a year ago, definitely. So what do I do outside of work? So I'm a big reader. I'm a really big reader. Yeah, I'm not sure many people would sort of know that. Actually, I really, and again, this kind of, it's so ironic. It just in prep of this podcast, I was looking through, and I've changed a lot over the years. I used to hate studying and sitting down. I if someone could pay me to go to university for 3 years now, I would jump at the opportunity of it. Like learning, I read a lot of non-fiction. A lot of history, a lot of geography. I find those things really interesting. I mean, you might have to wish me some luck. I'm looking at getting into more politics as well in terms of books, not getting into politics, but I read a lot. So
that's brilliant. I think everyone needs their escape. It doesn't have to be theatre.
Sure, no, it definitely is. I mean, so I say that music is a huge escape for me. I'm a big music guy. I listen to most types of music. I'm a bit of a snob. I'm a massive music snob. I can't say a little bit. I'll slate people for their music taste.
Oh dear.
Which is really bad, but I'm really into it. I really listen to a lot of my podcasts. Like I said, I'm a massive fan of the An Unorthodox CEO, obviously. That's one of the top ones. I've actually listened to most of the episodes now. But I listen to a lot of different other podcasts, like a historical figure sort of podcast I listened to recently. And also there's another one I saw Matt when I came into the office today. Me and Matt have never spoken about this, but I actually really like Warhammer 40k as well. He's another fellow nerd with that as well. I've been listening to some podcasts about that lately. So I've been really broadening my horizons and my hobbies outside of work, which has been a really nice, healthy.
It is healthy, and I think it's probably something this year I've not done enough of, and it is so important to have that release place, space, whatever it is, to just clear the mind of the stress and strain of what you're going through at work, and you clear it whichever way, and then that way you can come in refreshed next day. Otherwise you end up just 24/7 in a spiral of thinking here, there and everywhere. So I think
that's the thing as well, like I said earlier, I said the word identity. I think that in the past I've really tied up my identity with like the success of the business. So if I've had a bad month, and I've not brought on many new clients, or the nature of the industry, like December is never a good month. I would really be down about myself and be hard on myself over something like over December's, which are never good, and summer isn't normally a good time either. People aren't normally at the gym, they're normally on holiday, or they're away, or they're maybe at the beach, and separating my identity away from, like I said, the success of the business and how much money I've made at the end of the month has just been like a complete game changer. Obviously it sounds like it in hindsight, but it's really difficult when you are the one-man band, you're running everything, you're responsible for how much money you bring in. Money is the bottom line of it, unfortunately. It's just having a step away from that and understand there's balance. And also, like, you've got to be able to have that balance to be able to grow the business as well. It's not going to grow if I'm running myself into the ground, working 60, 70-hour weeks, especially when I'm then having to deliver the actual product itself. I don't have beds to sell, where I can bring people in to help me do that. So like I said earlier about marketing, so this is the sort of dilemma I'm in at the moment. I'm looking at hopefully bringing someone in to do a lot of marketing for me and create and edit a lot of content. Instagram's where I do a lot of my marketing, and I advertise to local athletes, and I spend so many hours doing that each week. I'm not a professional. It takes me a long time to get my head around it, and to film it and to get it all chopped up.
Wow, Vic would, there's a lot to it.
Thanks. It's got a lot better over the years. I've put a lot of effort into it, and my branding, I've put a lot of effort into making things look better. Thanks, I appreciate that. But it's one of those things that, I've recently, so last month I brought in 3 new clients on some sort of bigger long-term sort of packages, coaching packages, and naturally my content's just dropped off the face of the cliff in the last month because I don't have time to make content, because I'm then delivering the product that I'm then marketing in the first place. So it's a really difficult thing. But then obviously once I've stopped working with those clients, I then need to fill the pipeline again to get new clients back in. So I then need to pick the marketing back up. Whereas I'd like it if obviously that was a consistent stream. So it's I was literally reading a book last night actually about investing into just getting some help pretty much with things. And if you don't need to be doing something, why are you doing it? I'm not sure if you ever read the book The Big Leap by Kay Hendricks.
No, I haven't.
It's a really, really good book. He talks about the glass ceiling and your zone of genius as well. I'm not sure if you've heard zone of genius. That's a term that I've heard thrown around a few times, but zone of genius is about spending your time obviously where you are best spent. And in a business, and you spoke before again about the E-Myth, and being the technician, but also having to do bloody everything. You can't work in your zone of genius. So over the years of me running my business, it's been a case of me like trying to find things that, look, again, where I'm at right now, I'm not an editor, I'm not a content creator, that's not where I'm best spent, but I have to be doing that. Obviously marketing is a core pillar of the business, so without that the business doesn't run, and I can't have clients that I work with, which is where my zone of genius is. I need to help bring someone into the business to help me, who that is their zone of genius, and the business runs smoother, and without me having to do it all. So
that's brilliant. So that and where do you see yourself in 2 years? 3 years?
That's a very good question, and I think I've been doing a little bit of thinking about it lately. I think that again, having a more established business. Again, recently I've rebranded into Najair Movement, away from the Rob Najair personal training, and I want to continue learning. Again, I think that's a huge thing, and developing my knowledge about biomechanics and movement, and ultimately becoming a better technician of what I do. The better I am at my job, the higher level of client I'm able to work with, and the more money the business can earn. And again, eventually I can start to teach other people those kind of things potentially. In terms of bringing other people into the business, that's something I've not really thought too much about at the moment. I think just where I'm at right now, and again, biomechanic coaching is a very new thing in the industry, so I don't know anyone else who does it. So I don't think bringing someone into the business right now is...
And next year you're going to be busy for other reasons?
I'm definitely going to be, really busy for other reasons. We're expecting our first baby.
No.
On the 31st of December, we're having a baby boy.
My goodness.
Things are about to get a hell of a lot busier. Yeah, definitely. But again, that comes back to the balance of things as well, though, right? Yeah. Again, as you know, becoming a father makes you think about a lot of things, and you prioritize where what you want to be doing with your life and where you want to be spending your time. And I don't want to be spending my time stressing over sales for my business, or if I've got another person in the pipeline to bring on as a client, or this or that. I need to have balance, and I think the work that I've done this year so far has been really groundbreaking for that. I mean, we didn't know we were going to be having a baby at the beginning of the year, obviously, so it's teed itself up really nicely to then allow a much smoother transition in January or back into December.
That's cool. Cool. Yeah. Well, it's been I think fascinating talking about all this, and I think you're doing all the right stuff, and maybe you come back again in the future and update us on where you are and where you're going. And,
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd absolutely love to.
It's fantastic. Yeah, doing the great stuff.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah,
and you know this as well, because I was going to say we've had a couple of chats over the years, and I picked your brain for advice, or and again I think all these things come back to where again, because if I'm the person who's running the business, and this is one of the things you spoke about, people don't come to me because I'm a great personal trainer, because I'm really good at what I do. It's for me, and that's something that I've really taken into account over this last year, to refine where the business goes, and again what its core values are. Right? Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. Cool. Right, we got some quick fire questions for you now. Are you ready for this?
I've been waiting for this moment.
Are you waiting?
I knew this was coming.
I don't even know what the questions are, so here we go. Yeah, are you ready for your first question? Number one. Okay, if you weren't a movement coach, what would you be doing?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think that following passions as I've got older and things that I'm really interested in, this is not from a business perspective whatsoever, and I don't even know how these people make money. But I really again, history is a really interesting thing for me. So I don't know what a historian even does with their day to day. But if it means reading lots of books and learning about history maybe that.
Oh wow, I love that.
Again, I think even people that know me probably wouldn't know that actually about me. But I've become a real nerd the last few years. So that's something like that. Maybe,
So your favourite time in history?
Oh, that's another question. I really.
It's not one of the questions, by the way. I'm just interested.
No, I think maybe. Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really hard one. I think because I read a lot of books that talk about general historical figures. So you get people from people like Marcus Aurelius.
Yes.
So ancient Greek philosophy. That I find I have a huge interest in that. Seneca, Epictetus, people like that. So that's a really huge interest. But then also sort of 19th and 20th century people involved in war is something that I find really interesting. So generals, or Napoleon, or Winston Churchill. Roosevelt. I find those kind of people really interesting. So
okay, cool. Right, question number 2.
New fact about me.
Question number 2, here we go. Burpees, love them or hate them?
Do I love doing them or hate doing them? Or as a professional for other when I'm feeling fit, I really like them. When I'm not feeling so fit, they are the worst thing ever. I would say I love them. Okay. They're not something I love to do, but they're good. We don't always have to do things we like to do, right?
No, I never liked them. I was obviously never fit enough. Okay, question number 3. One fitness myth you wish you could banish forever.
One fitness myth. So I'm going to broaden slightly. I'm going to walk the question slightly. So just again with my industry that I'm working at the moment with injury rehabilitation, I think a big myth that I see a lot in the industry is that people think that you can go and have hands-on treatment for injury rehabilitation. If it was that simple, I think there wouldn't be as many injuries in the world as there are. I think injuries are a really complex thing. There's a lot that goes into it, and having a tight glute or a tight quad or a tight trap isn't a reason to be injured in the first place. So I would say that there are root causes of injuries which are a lot deeper than having a massage or going to an osteopath and having your back cracked.
Okay.
They're quick fixes, and as we know, quick fixes never work. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Normally, you've got to put in some work to actually get to the root cause of something.
Good tip. Yeah. Okay. Great answer. Question number 4. One top tip for good recovery.
Oh, you're going to love it. It's sleep. Sleep is absolutely it. Yeah, again, going back to you teed me up, Flan. Yeah, Steve threw the alley-oop there. Especially in the industry, I think a lot, especially recovery has become a huge thing lately in the industry. You see people who have ice baths all the time. Saunas. Massage guns. There's so many different types of things. There's electromagnetic sort of pulses that stimulate the muscles that help recover. Apparently, they don't work in comparison to something like a good night's sleep. Normally, we say if you're not getting a good night's sleep and you're spending your time on all the other stuff, you're probably addressing the base level 1 or 2% of things. If you are sleeping well and fueling your body properly, you're doing 95% plus of the work for recovery.
Love that answer. Yes. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's not a very sexy answer, and it's not a very...
I think it's a brilliant answer.
I'm sure you do. No, I think a lot of people want to hear the latest trend or the latest fad and the things. Yeah. But ultimately, the things that work are doing something consistently, which does work. That might be a bit boring, eating good food consistently is going to get you lean and maybe help you lose a bit of weight. It's not a fad. It's not a fancy type of diet. If you want to get stronger at the gym, you've got to do strength training consistently for a really long period of time. Alongside all of that, like I said, the sort of foundational part of all of that is a good night's sleep. So,
Brilliant. Okay, 5th and final question. Here we go.
Go for it.
What is your favourite sport to play?
It's basketball.
Is it?
Yeah, basketball's definitely my favourite sport. I actually don't play much sport nowadays because I spend most of my time either at the gym, lifting weights, doing CrossFit, or running. I've been running quite a lot lately as well. So I went for a run with Josh yesterday.
Yes.
We went for a nice run yesterday.
10
and
miles.
Harry.
Was it 10 miles?
10 miler, yeah. It was the longest run I've done for a little while. It was good. It was lovely conditions. But if I'm not doing those things, which is 95% of my thing, my favourite sport is basketball. Yeah, I used to. That was actually what I wanted to do when I was younger. In fact, you asked what I wanted to. Actually, I wanted to be in the NBA. That was the dream. That was always the dream. And I used to, when I was in sort of the back end of secondary school and college, I would play 2 hours a day every day before school. So I'd go to the local sports centre and I'd play from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. literally Monday to Friday for about 3 or 4 years, and I got all right. I was okay. I was never a big kid. No. It was before I found weights, which probably would have helped a hell of a lot with that sport. But obviously it never worked out, but I still like to play basketball with some mates. So.
Cool. Oh, fabulous. Okay, well, that's the end of our question round.
Amazing.
I suppose we just need to finish off with a tip of the week. What tip? I think you've probably covered the tip of the week, which is sleep and the importance of sleep, which is something we haven't spoken about much, and yet it does link to our product very well.
Absolutely.
But, I think with rehabilitation, I've said it several times now, and I think I've sussed that word. Sleep is so important, but it's so important for so many things. And unless you want to add any other tip.
Yeah, I guess just similar to some of the things we were saying and about one of the quickfire questions is, there aren't quick fixes, especially when it comes to injury rehabilitation and recovery. These things take a lot of work, and I think asking for help a lot of the time is something that a lot of people struggle to do. And that's just in my experience with CrossFitters or people that go to the gym, or I say that just athletes in general. We like to do our own thing. We like to be resourceful ourselves, and you can work on your sleep and that can get better. You can work on cleaning up your diet. Your training can get smarter. You can stop doing so many stupid things at the gym. But ultimately, sometimes you do just need to ask for help. Some of the injuries that I've helped people with have been really deep-rooted causes, which aren't going to be treated from going to see the local chiropractor potentially. Obviously, there are great chiropractors out there, and physios and osteos and massage therapists. But it's not normally, in my experience, the answer to all of it.
No.
I would be biased in the way that I work, but there's a reason I'm a biomechanics coach and not an osteopath. I think that looking and delving deeper into the root causes of things normally yields the results that you're after long term.
Cool.
Yeah.
I suppose really, if anyone wants to find out more, you can follow you on Instagram.
Absolutely, yeah, and the Najair movement.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can.
We'll link it. Yeah,
nice one, thanks.
Yeah, because there's probably lots of people going, ooh, yeah.
And also, I'm guessing you have a large listener base all over the UK, and even are we international?
All over the world.
All over the world, sure.
People that have been on holiday that have listened to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So an international base. Yeah, because obviously I'm based in Hastings, and that's where I do a lot of my in-person work. But what I've been doing for the last few months actually is delving into an online coaching space. Working with injury rehabilitation online is something that I'm definitely be getting into, and am taking on clients now.
Yeah, cool. Okay,
just drop the plug.
Okay, we'll tag that for you.
Sure, I appreciate it.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Rob. It's been enlightening and fun, and it's been lovely.
Thank you for having me. I was very honoured when I got the message to come on the podcast in the first place. I'm only a small time business owner, I really appreciate it.
Cool. It's been great. Cool. Right, so that's it. Next week we are being joined by my future son-in-law. Joe Brister is on next week. Brister. Yes, he's coming on. So we're going to be talking to him about what it's like looking into the family business from outside. So obviously he lives with Grace at the moment. They get married not next year after, so I've got a little bit more time to save up. But he at the dinner table,
those two, you need a few more years actually.
Yeah, probably. He gets dragged into the business talk. So it's to see an outside perspective, family business, outside perspective looking in, as well as his experience working with his own family in the world of civil engineering and groundwork. So, and he's works alongside his dad, and he's worked with his granddad over years. So we'll be talking to him about him and his family business.
Shout out, Joe.
So we look forward to that. Yeah. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow night as well. Anyway, that's beside the point. So remember, new episodes drop every Wednesday. Don't forget to tune in. And if you want any more unfiltered business talk, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, of course, at An Unorthodox CEO. So. Yeah, that's it. We'll wrap that up. And, of course, if you're listening in the morning, good morning. You've just woken up from a Sussex bed. If you're walking the dog, then have a lovely walk. I had a lovely walk this morning on the beach. Very nice, 6 o'clock in the morning. Saw the sunrise. That was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Driving along, then drive safely. And, of course, if you're tucking yourself up in bed to listen to me put you to sleep, then good night. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch up next week. Bye.
Bye. That was good.